Social Dilemma is a new Netflix documentary that released this Wednesday. Stay tuned for another Netflix film I'm going to be reviewing today. But this film, this is a documentary, but I review documentaries like they're films. Just I judge them a little bit differently because you want to judge how accurate the information is, how well the information is presented, and that's really all you have to really judge with the documentary. But I really hated this. I hated this documentary. Because at first it seemed interesting, okay? You're watching these people who work for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you're like, okay. But then they proceed to not tell you any new information about this subject, right? The subject is that, the idea of a social problem that's encapsulates society, teenagers, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Here's my problem. There's no new information presented. It's just you telling us what people already know. And people don't care, right? You're sitting there in a chair going, hey, man, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, so bad. Okay, great. What are you doing about it? It's the problem I have with the news, too. It's like, what are you doing about it? Nothing. And they're sitting here preaching to you about how bad it is, not telling you anything about it. And here's the thing. These people actually work for these companies, right? You would think that they'd have some insight to know what's going on, to tell you, hey, this is what goes on with this company. This is why this is so bad. Maybe they can't tell you under legal agreements. I don't know. But, still, it just kind of feels like scummy that you're just sitting here dropping the same information when you know information that you should probably be telling people if you really care that much. But they're not. And it's a basic documentary for this type of stuff. There's a million documentaries about this stuff. There's millions of news websites you can find about this stuff. And it's really frustrating because, when you do this crap and make documentaries like this, you scare people. You show people, man, your phone is so bad. How many hours is your kid on the phone? And then when they look at it, they're like, man, kid, you're addicted. People think I'm addicted to my phone, and I'm not addicted. Like I just I spend a lot of time making videos, researching, listening to music. I do different things, and then I also do tons of other different things throughout the day too. It's like, but it's because of things like this that scare people and make people think stuff that it's very, and when you're not presenting any new information and you're just scaring people further into this idea that, oh my gosh, everybody has a phone's addicted or whatever, or social media or whatever. And I know that's not what they're trying to say, in a sense. They're trying to show you the dangers of this type of stuff. But again, what you're really just doing is scaring people, and you're not doing it in a way that's going to help people. You're not showing them new information that they couldn't find somewhere else. It's incredibly poorly done. And there's this also, this is what I'm talking about when people get overly scared, is this one scene. This family's at a dinner table. Okay, this one girl says, hey, we don't need our phones for dinner. The kids flip out and like, no! And the mom's like, you know what, you're right. She takes their phones, puts them in this glass jar. The one daughter is so addicted, she gets up to the jar and tries to get her phone out. She can't do it. And no one asked this girl to sit down. They're like, what are you doing? Stop that. Okay. Then I guess it counted a bit. She grabs the jar. And in the background, she smashes it open and gets her phone out. Okay, look. There might be people in the world that are this addicted, but those are a very, very small, minute group of people. Acting like that's the majority of people is disgusting. Majority of people have phones to contact people, They even say there's some good in these websites. People contact with loved ones that they haven't talked to in years or whatever. They make new friends, things like that. There's all kinds of things that they list that are good within this documentary. But then they show you something like this, which by showing this, they're trying to act like this is the majority of people, or this is the dangers. I'm like, no, majority. It's like those arguments, okay? It's like this. When the news says, hey, the Joker's going to cause mass shootings, right? They say that. And did it cause mass shootings? No. You know why? Because the majority of people who watch things with violence, such as video games, movies, music, etc., are not the majority of people. That's right. Mentally, because most of them happen to be mentally ill or just crazy people in general who don't really have moral codes or care about other people. So, yeah, the majority of people aren't like this. So when you're saying this and preaching this to people, hey, this is the dangers, it's not a danger. Because yes, there's like a 5% chance it's going to happen. But is it going to happen? Probably not, right? So you're sitting there preaching something that isn't most likely ever going to happen. Yes, there are people who have dangerous addictions to things. I'm not denying that fact. But this is a very, very exaggerated version of that maybe in the world happens somewhere, but not as often as you'd like to think. And it's not a helpful documentary because, once again, it's just repeating old information, and then it's also exaggerating the dangers, which is like, you want to preach me about the dangers, but then you're exaggerating it, and you're also not presenting new information. And these are people who worked at these companies. You should know more information than you're letting on. Absolute bullcrap. This is an awful documentary. Because as soon as I watched that moment, I felt like turning it off. I said, that moment where she smashed the cell phone enraged me. Enraged. Yes, that is a thing that families do at dinner. They try to get their kids off the phone so they can have some family time and interact. And that's sad that that's a thing that has to go on, right? But come on. It's not like the way they're presenting it, and that's the problem. It's kind of a disturbing thing to show in this documentary. At least in the way they do. And that's why you have to be careful of documentaries, honestly. There's a lot of documentaries that will have information that is true and factual, but they'll try to present it in a way to make you scared or make you think things that aren't even true. So be very, very careful of that. This is one of those examples.